Now we're all here because all of us share a belief in a world without nuclear weapons being a better, safer and more equal place for us all to share. Because we all live in the same world. Sometimes it seems as though we don't. Because some people in the promotion of nuclear weapons seem as though they come from a different planet. But the reality is that we all have to make the best deal out of what we have on this planet. And nuclear weapons, very obviously to everyone here, is not something that contributes to the greater good. The British independent nuclear deterrent, and I'm not saying anything new here, is neither independent nor a deterrent. It's not independent because it's nothing more than a huge lease agreement with the USA. And as a relic of the Cold War, who's it deterring now? Possibly other than David Cameron's panicky projection during the elections when he was asked questions about Trident and suggested that maybe we should start pointing them at China now because well, they're the first country that came into his head. And £100 billion of public money on a weapons system, very senior military figures have no interest in other than to say that it's useless to them as military men and a great waste of money. So as the saying goes, it's a no-brainer, we should get rid of Trident. Do we need to have a review to decide whether Trident is or isn't good value for money, or if it's necessary, or if it's good, or if it's moral? Well, I don't think so. I think that the defence review, including Trident, obviously Trident exists and we are going to have a defence review, so it should be talked about. But the reality is that we all know that Trident, as it exists, is just a huge, dangerous behemoth that sits down the Clyde from us here and has no place in the modern world. And when it comes to review, our answer is that the review should say that Trident should be scrapped. So what are we going to do about that then? Well, it would seem that the new government, it seems, is in favour of keeping Trident. They are going to have a review, but the reality is they've already announced many times that they are in favour of keeping it. There are some in the new government who say that at the very least it should be replaced with a cheaper, however unfortunately no less deadly alternative. I've just returned from the NPT, as Isabel said, in New York, and the determination there that I picked up, and this goes across the board, is that following the past couple of failed attempts to move the disarmament process forward, there will be a successful review with encouraging sounds coming from the Obama administration and from Russia. Unfortunately, as I was speaking to Bill outside, unfortunately the UN representative from the UK, John Duncan, wasn't able to actually come along and speak to NGOs because he was not allowed to do so. It wasn't the right thing for him to do. There was a new government. He couldn't really put a position forward. Every other country managed to put forward a position that said that they were working towards disarmament, towards non-proliferation. Why a UK representative couldn't have come along and actually put that position and then said, but we are working on a review about our nuclear weapons and further information will come later, I really do not know, except for the fact that possibly the new government does not want to put out any sort of signs at the moment which might suggest that it will not only keep its nuclear weapons but is determined to upgrade them. So the reality is, General Sir Hugh Beach last year said in the City Chambers, and I know a number of you who are here were there at that meeting as well, he said that Britain will never give up its nuclear warheads, whilst that would leave France as the sole nuclear power in Western Europe. So while 187 nations in the NPT call for the disarmament of nuclear weapons and for non-proliferation, they live without their own nuclear arsenals safely in a world of cooperation. Unfortunately, the British government, whether it's the new one or its Labour predecessor, carry on with a determination to maintain a nuclear capability on a pretext that it's there to be helped to use negotiations, to negotiate away the nuclear weapons of the other nuclear weapons states. In other words, if the UK got rid unilaterally of its weapons, that would somehow mean that other nations would not be able to negotiate away their nuclear weapons with one another. The reality is that the UK wishes to maintain its place among the big boys in the Security Council, and that is why it wants to maintain its nuclear weapons system. I think, having spoken to diplomats from among other places, from the UK, I did manage to meet one or two, from the USA, from Japan, Canada, Austria, France and Germany, there's a determination that this NPT will not fail, and that there will be an ability to actually begin the process. It's not going to happen overnight, it's not going to happen tomorrow, but the process of bringing down the levels of warheads across the world will be increased. France is a problem because France, if you go to France, you will find that nuclear, whether it's nuclear power or nuclear weapons, is not a big issue in the way that it is in other countries. But France, France will cooperate in terms of reducing its weapons systems along with the USA and Russia. It's not based on whether the UK has nuclear weapons or not. France actually has its own imperial past, which it still hangs on to in the same way as Westminster does, and they will be a problem, but they will negotiate them down. I don't think that we need to be in a position where we have to negotiate these. We should actually just, we should abolish them. That's basically what it comes down to. That's my position. I know it's the position of many people. I know it's the position of people within the Labour Party, and I would hope that they could actually manage, now that they're in a different political situation, to get their new leadership to think in a similar way. And I'm hoping that there will be people within the junior partnership in the new government who may be able to have some influence in that direction. But I'm not going to stand here and hold my breath, because I don't expect you to watch a man die on stage. All of them, we're all, I might be doing that, I don't know. We're all aware of the situation here. And in Scotland, the Parliament in 2007 took a position against nuclear weapons. That position is understood and known across the world. Many people in the UN told me that they know and are proud of the fact that a government in Scotland, they know of what we did, they're very proud of the idea that someone with nuclear weapons based in their country has stood up and said that they're against that situation. They're very happy about the idea that the Scottish Government should move towards a position of promotion of unilateral removal of Trident from our land and our waters. And whilst I was there, I was privileged to have a personal meeting with the President of the NPT, Ambassador Libre Kabuchwan. I managed to say it when I was actually speaking to him, so I was quite proud of myself. And I presented him with a statement from the First Minister Alex Salmond in support of a nuclear weapons convention as Scotland's contribution to the stated aim of the NPT. And the President explained how he saw the NPT developing this year and how previous developments of past NPTs were being built on. And statements such as Scotland's, he said, are vital to building the kind of consensus for a new nuclear weapons convention which would see the development of new weapons system, or indeed the upgrading of the weapons system in Britain, as a breach of international law. And we don't need Trident of any kind. We don't need an upgrade, we don't need a replacement, we don't need a cheaper alternative. The reality is that in the climate of international opinion as it exists now, that is unconscionable. We should not be even looking to think of developing or upgrading Trident. We can't afford it. It's a huge waste of public money, and the reality is that there is a public will, and I believe there is a political will to do something about that. And I hope that from here today we'll be able to take this forward and build once again on the idea that cooperation of countries throughout the world is the way forward, and not threats with big boys' toys. Thank you.